Good evening and welcome to Cozy Sleep Time. Get comfortable and take a slow breath. Let your body relax more and more. Tonight's story is about the thunderstorms. Simply listen or let your mind drift. There is no need to focus. Let the quiet story begin. Tonight we explore the birth of a thunderstorm. Every thunderstorm begins with warm, moist air near the Earth's surface. The sun heats the ground, radiating warmth upward. As the air warms, it becomes less dense and begins to rise. This updraft is the engine that drives the entire storm. As warm air rises, it expands and cools. Cool air cannot hold as much moisture, so water vapor condenses into tiny droplets, forming a cumulus cloud. If the updraft is strong enough, the cloud pushes higher into the atmosphere past the freezing level, where droplets freeze into ice crystals. This is the cumulonimbus cloud, named from the Latin cumulus meaning heap and nimbus meaning rain cloud. It can reach 10, 15, even 20 kilometers into the atmosphere. The top flattens against the tropopause, forming an anvil shape that gives the mature storm its distinctive silhouette. Inside the cloud, powerful forces are at work. Updrafts carry water droplets and ice crystals upward at speeds that can exceed 100 kilometers per hour. The larger particles become too heavy for the updraft to support and begin to fall, colliding with smaller particles on the way down. These collisions build electrical charges that will eventually produce lightning. Meanwhile, the falling particles drag air downward, creating downdrafts that will spread out when they reach the ground. The storm is a system of opposing forces, rising and falling air, building and releasing energy, all within the towering column of the cloud. The environment around a thunderstorm changes as it develops. The air becomes heavy with electricity. The sky darkens as the cloud blocks the sun. Temperatures may drop suddenly as cool air from the downdraft spreads out ahead of the storm. The wind shifts and picks up, carrying the smell of rain. Animals sense the approaching storm and seek shelter. Birds fly low and fast. The world grows still in a way that feels expectant, charged. The formation of a thunderstorm requires three ingredients: moisture, instability, and a lifting mechanism. Moisture provides the fuel. Instability allows the warm air to keep rising once it starts. The lifting mechanism, whether it is a front, a mountain range, or the simple heating of the ground, gives the air the initial push upward. Where all three come together, a thunderstorm is born. To watch a thunderstorm form is to watch a process of accumulation, of energy gathering in the atmosphere until it can no longer be contained. The towering cloud is a visible expression of invisible forces, heat and moisture and instability building toward a release that will clear the air and restore balance. It is a reminder that the atmosphere is alive, always moving, always seeking equilibrium. Every thunderstorm passes through a predictable life cycle of development, maturity, and dissipation. The first stage is the cumulus stage, where the updraft dominates. Warm, moist air rises and condenses into a growing cumulus cloud. The cloud builds upward, its edges crisp and well-defined, powered entirely by the upward movement of air. Water droplets are suspended by the updraft, too light to fall. This stage lasts 10 to 30 minutes, until the cloud reaches the freezing level where ice crystals begin to form. The second stage is the mature stage, when the thunderstorm is most powerful. The updraft still feeds warm air into the cloud, but a downdraft has now developed. Rain begins to fall, pulled down by the weight of growing water droplets and ice particles. The falling rain drags cold air with it, creating the downdraft that spreads out when it reaches the ground. This is when the storm produces its most dramatic effects: lightning, thunder, heavy rain, and sometimes hail. The cloud has reached its maximum height, with the anvil spreading at the top. The base is dark and ominous, signaling heavy precipitation within. The mature stage can last 20 to 30 minutes, and this is when severe weather most often occurs. The downdraft eventually becomes the dominant force. Cool air from the falling rain cuts off the inflow of warm, moist air that feeds the updraft. Without its fuel source, the updraft weakens and the storm enters the dissipation stage. Rainfall becomes lighter and transitions to drizzle. The cloud begins to evaporate, its sharp edges becoming fuzzy and indistinct. The anvil may persist for some time after the main storm has weakened, a ghost of what was. The dissipation stage can last anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes, after which the storm has completely dissolved, leaving behind only the cooler air that it brought down from higher altitudes. The life cycle of a thunderstorm is a story of balance. A storm forms when conditions are right, builds as long as its fuel supply lasts, and dissipates when it has exhausted the energy available to it. The entire process, from first cloud to final dissipation, typically takes less than an hour for a single-cell storm. The storm is a temporary structure, a brief organization of energy that rises, peaks, and fades. When it ends, the atmosphere is left more stable than before, the excess heat and moisture having been carried high into the atmosphere and distributed over a wider area. The storm is not destructive in the largest sense. It is a balancing mechanism, a way for the atmosphere to redistribute energy from where there is too much to where there is less, restoring equilibrium after a period of instability. Lightning and thunder are the most dramatic expressions of a thunderstorm's power. Lightning begins when ice particles inside the storm cloud collide, stripping electrons from some particles and adding them to others, creating regions of positive and negative charge within the cloud. The top becomes positively charged while the lower part becomes negatively charged. This separation creates an enormous electrical field. When the field becomes strong enough to overcome the insulating properties of air, a lightning strike occurs. The process happens incredibly quickly. A stepped leader, a channel of partially ionized air, extends downward from the cloud in rapid steps, invisible to the naked eye. As it approaches the ground, positively charged streamers rise from tall objects on the surface. When the stepped leader connects with the streamer, the circuit is complete. A massive return stroke surges upward, carrying negative charge from the cloud to the ground. This return stroke is what we see as the brilliant flash. It travels at about 1/3 the speed of light and heats the surrounding air to about 30,000 degrees Celsius, 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun. This extreme heating causes the air to expand explosively, creating a shock wave that we hear as thunder. Because light travels much faster than sound, we see the flash before we hear the thunder. Counting the seconds between the flash and the sound gives an estimate of distance, about 1 kilometer for every 3 seconds. Lightning can strike the same place twice, especially tall structures like skyscrapers and broadcast towers. It can also strike far from the storm, traveling horizontally for many kilometers before reaching the ground. These bolts from the blue are reminders that lightning danger extends well beyond the visible rain shaft. There are different types of lightning. Cloud-to-ground lightning is the most familiar and dangerous, accounting for most lightning injuries. Intra-cloud lightning stays within the cloud, illuminating it from within like a flashbulb behind frosted glass. Sheet lightning is intra-cloud lightning hidden or diffused by clouds. Heat lightning is distant lightning whose thunder is too far away to be heard, visible on summer nights as silent flashes on the horizon. Each type is the same fundamental process, the same release of electrical energy that powers the storm's most spectacular display. A single lightning strike can carry up to 1 billion volts of electricity and heat the air to nearly 30,000 degrees Celsius in a fraction of a second. The Empire State Building is struck by lightning about 25 times per year. Worldwide, there are about 8 million lightning strikes every day, each one a powerful reminder of the electrical nature of our atmosphere. Not all thunderstorms are the same. The most common type is the single-cell thunderstorm, also called an air mass storm. These isolated storms form on hot summer afternoons when the sun creates local updrafts. A single-cell storm follows the classic life cycle of cumulus, mature, and dissipation stages, typically lasting only 30 to 60 minutes. They are usually not severe, though they can produce brief heavy rain, lightning, and occasional small hail. Multi-cell thunderstorms are more organized and longer lasting. They consist of a cluster of storm cells at different stages of development. As one cell dissipates, a new cell forms next to it, fed by the outflow of cool air from the dying cell. This chain reaction can sustain the storm for hours. Multi-cell storms can produce large hail, strong winds, and heavy rainfall, often forming along cold fronts or in regions of widespread atmospheric instability. Squall lines are long bands of thunderstorms that form along or ahead of cold fronts, stretching for hundreds of kilometers. They produce widespread heavy rain, strong straight-line winds, and sometimes tornadoes. When a squall line passes, rain arrives suddenly and intensely, often with a dramatic drop in temperature and a shift in wind direction. Supercell thunderstorms are the most powerful and dangerous. They are characterized by a deep, rotating updraft called a mesocyclone. This rotation gives the supercell its distinctive structure and allows it to persist for hours, traveling hundreds of kilometers. Supercells produce the most severe weather, including large hail, damaging winds, and violent tornadoes. They have a classic appearance on radar, often showing a hook echo where the rotating updraft wraps precipitation around itself. These storms are relatively rare, but responsible for a disproportionate share of storm damage. Regardless of type, every thunderstorm follows the same fundamental principles: warm, moist air rising, moisture condensing and freezing, electrical charges building and releasing. The differences between storm types are matters of organization, duration, and intensity. A single-cell storm is a brief event that comes and goes in under an hour. A multi-cell cluster can persist for hours, tracking across the landscape. A supercell is a sustained, rotating system that can produce violent weather for half a day or more. Each type represents a different way the atmosphere organizes the same basic energy, from the simple pop-up summer storm to the most powerful and organized systems on Earth. When a thunderstorm approaches, knowing how to stay safe lets you appreciate the storm from a place of security. The most important rule is simple. When thunder roars, go indoors. If you can hear thunder, you are close enough to be struck by lightning. There is no safe place outside during a thunderstorm. The safest place is inside a substantial building with 4 walls and a roof. Once inside, stay away from windows, doors, and concrete walls. Lightning can travel through wiring and plumbing, so avoid anything connected to an electrical outlet. Do not use corded phones, computers, or other plugged-in electronic devices. Unplug sensitive electronics before the storm arrives. Avoid plumbing as well. Do not shower, bathe, wash dishes, or have any contact with running water during a thunderstorm, as lightning can travel through metal pipes. If you are in a car, you are relatively safe as long as you stay inside with the windows rolled up. The metal body conducts lightning around the passengers and into the ground. Do not touch metal parts of the car, and do not park under trees or other tall objects. If caught outside with no shelter, avoid open fields, hilltops, and ridge tops. Stay away from tall isolated trees, towers, and utility poles. Get out of and away from bodies of water. Do not lie flat on the ground, as this increases the risk of ground current. The 30-30 rule is a useful guideline. If the time between lightning and thunder is 30 seconds or less, seek shelter immediately. Wait 30 minutes after the last thunderclap before going back outside, as lightning can strike even after a storm seems to have passed. Lightning can travel through the ground from a nearby strike, so avoid leaning on concrete walls or lying on concrete floors. If someone is struck by lightning, call for emergency help immediately and begin first aid if you are trained. Lightning victims do not carry an electrical charge and can be safely touched. Knowing these safety rules allows you to enjoy the power and beauty of a thunderstorm without fear. Preparation is the key to comfort. Check the forecast before heading out. Have a plan for where you will take shelter, and keep an eye on the sky for developing storms. The storm is a natural wonder, and with proper precautions, you can experience its majesty from a place of safety and comfort. After the thunderstorm has passed, a profound calm settles over the landscape. The transition from storm to stillness is one of the most peaceful moments in nature. The first thing you notice is the silence. The wind has died down, the rain has stopped, the thunder has faded into the distance. Then the dripping begins, water falling from roofs and leaves, each drop making a soft sound as it hits the ground or a puddle below. Birds emerge from their shelters, shaking water from their feathers and beginning to sing again, their voices filling the space thunder left behind. Their songs sound clearer and more grateful, as if celebrating the return of calm. The air feels cleaner, cooler, fresher. Rain has washed dust and pollen from the atmosphere. The smell of the earth after rain rises from the ground, petrichor, a rich, clean scent from oils released by plants and bacteria in the soil, one of the most comforting smells in the natural world. The light changes as well. If the sun breaks through departing clouds, it casts a warm golden glow across the wet landscape. Everything shines, every leaf, every puddle, every blade of grass. The world looks new, freshly painted by the rain. Rainbows sometimes appear, arcs of color spanning the sky where sunlight refracts through remaining moisture in the air, the storm's parting gift and a promise of calm after the turmoil. Puddles reflect the clearing sky, each one a mirror holding a piece of the recovering blue above. Leaves drip their last drops. The air temperature has dropped, and the world feels washed clean and reset. The storm has passed through like a great cleansing breath, leaving the air cooler, the sky clearer, and the earth refreshed. The calm after a thunderstorm is a reminder that even the most powerful disturbances are temporary. The storm rages, and then it moves on, and what remains is quiet, clarity, and the simple peace of a world at rest. In that stillness, the earth seems to sigh with relief, settling back into its natural rhythm, the air purified and the landscape renewed, ready for whatever weather the next day will bring. As our story ends, let the quiet ideas settle softly. Your body can continue to relax, breathing slow and steady. If sleep is near, let it arrive naturally. Thank you for spending this moment here on Cozy Sleep Time. Return anytime for another peaceful journey. Good night.